at Mesa's Dobson High School with Jerry Walker, the governing board member for Maricopa Community College in East Mesa and Scottsdale and Fountain Hills. And Jerry has been a veteran of the Navy for 28 and a half years. He served in Vietnam and served in the Persian Gulf War. Jerry, it's an honor to have you here because you're here watching Senator McCain, who also was a great man of service to this country.
Well, I try to be. I've created a 501c3 called the Maricopa Association for Combat Veterans, and I'm tying that to the Maricopa Community College District. Our objective is to get all the veterans who are entitled to this new GI Bill to use it and go to school. We've done some mathematical computations, and we've come to the conclusion that if we can get all the veterans in Arizona that are eligible to use the GI Bill and go to school, we'll be able to stimulate the economy to the tune of about $3.5 billion. And right now, that could really save the state of Arizona because those are tax dollars that we've paid in. This is not stimulus money that's just been printed up. This is real money that we've paid into the federal government, and we need to be able to get that money back.
When you came back from Vietnam, the environment and the situation you came back to in the States was not like that, was it?
No, not at all. We were sped on, and we were called baby killers when we were there to save lives and to make things better for people, but the enemy was here and as well as there. And it appears now that the enemy's in charge of here.
Tell me a little more about the Maricopa Association of Combat Veterans, which you founded.
Well, we're having a meeting this morning at a coffee house in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're going to introduce a new executive vice president into the organization. Our new bookkeeper / treasurer couldn't be there this morning because of some training, but we've got some other people coming into the program. And I want it to be something besides a networking opportunity. I want it to be something that's a real service to veterans. And I want to make it clear that if you really want to be of service to veterans, then you want to get in touch with us. You can go to our website. It's MACV, that's MACV, MACV.org. And you can look up our organization, and if you'd like to be involved in it, please get in touch with us.
Now, Jerry, that certainly is a passion of your life. John McCain was a prisoner of war, and he can't raise his arms above his shoulders. And you suffered a lot of things when you gave your service to the country. What kind of physical maladies do you have now from serving the country so long?
Well, I have spinal stenosis in both cervical and lumbar areas, and I have I fractured my left arm when I was in Iraq, and I have frozen shoulder syndrome, similar to John McCain's, except I've had surgery, and surgery was able to repair my left shoulder, but not my right one yet.
And you were exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam, is that correct?
Yeah, I was exposed to Agent Orange, and I ended up with type 2 diabetes.
Oh, my goodness. So you not only have served the country, but you've suffered for the country.
Well, I don't really like to say I've suffered for my country because I've seen people who suffered for their country. I was carrying a young Marine who had shot in the chest when I was in Vietnam. And he was looking at me and saying, "Don't let me die, Doc, don't let me die." It was a hospital corpsman. The Marines called me Doc because it's just one of the things they do is a part of their compassion for people who are there to try to save their lives. And as a Navy corpsman, I was carrying this Marine on a stretcher through a combat zone, and I heard an explosion behind me. It startled me, and I tripped and I cut my hand on the stretcher. And someone said, "Jerry, you should apply for a Purple Heart." And I said, "Well, no, this man is dying for his Purple Heart, and I'm not John Kerry. I didn't just get a scratch and get a Purple Heart for it."
I would say your story is the American dream because if I remember correctly, you were not the greatest student in high school, and now you're a governing board member, one of 5 that runs the biggest and largest and most successful community college district in the nation, the Maricopa Community Colleges. So talk about your going from not being the perfect student in high school to being a governing board member for a community college system.
Well, I graduated from high school at the age of 20 with a D average. I guess the Marine Corps thought D stood for doctor, and they made me a hospital corpsman, and I grew up in a hurry. I saw some passion for life, and I ended up getting out of the Navy after 8 years, and I went to college and graduate school, and ended up with, before I finished going to school, I had 5 college degrees. That's not too bad for a guy that graduated from high school at the age of 20 with a D average.
And there's another thing, Jerry, I wanted to ask you about the community college system. UCLA raised their tuition by 33%. ASU raised their tuition as much as 31 to 16%, NAU 16, University of Arizona 31, and yet you're the driving force in the community college. You have not raised tuition in 2 years, if I understand that correctly. Explain how you've kept tuition down for the community college students.
Well, I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe that it's necessary to make sure that people get an education and are able to work in their future without financing it away. I don't think it's necessary to put a financial burden on people that cause them to owe money to the bank for the first 10 years of their working career and still not be able to make a workable living for themselves and their young families. I try to give 110%, just like I did when I was in the military. I don't stop giving. I feel a very high obligation to give to people who have given so much to me. The opportunity to go back to college after not doing so well in high school is a real gift that I was given, and an opportunity to express the fact that I'd done a little growing over the years and was able to now in a position to make a contribution where before I was only a receiver of contributions. I grew up in a foster home, and it wasn't the most pleasant experience in the world. And a lot of these young people in the military today are coming from backgrounds very similar to that, and I'd like to see them get to the point where they can give back as well. I'd like to see every one of our community college campuses, regardless of how small. You know, we have 10 colleges, but we have 24 campuses, and we're adding new campuses all the time. I'm really passionate about a new concept that was first introduced by Rio Salado College called the Communiversity, so that you can take college courses in your neighborhood if necessary, so that we can keep you close to home and take away your excuses so you can get away from the boob tube at night and take a course at the local college right there in your neighborhood.
You see your calling as working with the community colleges then?
Yes, sir. That's my calling. I believe that's a Christian calling.